Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's live class on 10 professional ways to start a presentation. We'll be starting here in just a minute, so we'll give everyone a chance to sort of join the class. And feel free to use the comments there just to say hi. Just let us know who you are, where you're from, and we'll be happy to greet you here. It's always fun to see where everyone is from in the world. But again, welcome in. We'll be starting here in just about 30 seconds. So grab yourself a coffee, grab yourself some lunch. I guess it is lunchtime in a lot of places that we're broadcasting this to. But it is great to have everyone here with us. Hello. We got some more people coming in. Great to have you guys. Welcome. Let's see. Again, feel free in the comments to say hello. Let us know where you guys are from. We always love to see that. And let's see, what else do we have going on here? We've got a few more coming in. Perfect. Hello, everyone. All right. So I think we're right at the top of the hour. So we can go ahead and get started with everything. So again, today's live class is on 10 professional ways to start a presentation. My name is Kevin, and I am the founder of Deliberate English. I live in Chicago, Illinois, in the United States. And I spent the past 12 years working in large global organizations in information technology, and most recently as a sales director within a sales engineering organization. And so with that experience, I've built an online business English immersion community where you can practice your business English with native speakers every day in live classes, real life challenges, get feedback on everything ranging from your grammar to vocab to pronunciation, and get to meet every month with business experts from different industries to learn about their field and how they use communication to further their careers. With me today, I have Margit. Margit, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what you do, and how you help people?
Absolutely. So my name is Margit. I'm the founder of English 21st, and I specialize in giving corporate classes to professionals in one-on-one and group classes, helping them advance their English communication skills for global contexts. I've been teaching for almost 25 years. I've helped professionals from all over the world. And I specialize in helping people be more successful globally.
Perfect. Nice to have you here, Margit.
Great. Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah. All right. Well, we do have a couple people checking in to say hi. So hi, Ong P. Hi, Ana Gracia. Hello, Nicole. Hello, Richard. Hello, Octavio. Great to have you guys here. Thanks for introducing yourselves. We got some Mexico. We got some Spain. We got some Myanmar. Perfect. Love to see that global audience.
Awesome.
Now, before we get started, I do want everyone to know that you don't have to be really stressed and take a lot of notes and try to write everything that we say today. As you might notice on the top of our presentation here, you can get a free PDF worksheet that has all of today's expressions, all of the notes, all of the examples and definitions for everything. So all those notes are already done for you. You do not have to go and take them yourselves, so you can just relax and listen today. And so you can grab that at deliberate.community/present. And I am going to paste that here in the chat so that everyone can see that and use it directly. So again, just go to that link, deliberate.community/present, where you can get this free PDF worksheet with everything that we are going to talk about today, so you don't forget a word. All right, so I think we are ready to get things started. So Margit, we're about to kick off a presentation ourselves. What would be a great opportunity or a great option to use in this situation?
Yeah, so Kevin, a great way to, get the presentation started immediately, quickly, is to say something like, okay, if everyone is here, let's kick things off. So this is an expression we can hear often in meetings and presentations. It's used a lot by, Americans, native English speakers, and it really means, let's get right into it. Let's kick things off.
Awesome. Yeah, this is one that I use all the time without even thinking about it, really. Like it's that common,
Hmm.
especially in in an American English context
Hmm.
where if you use this, you're going to sound very natural. It fits in a lot of different situations, whether it's a presentation or even just a meeting or a call. Would you agree with that, Margaret?
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's used to start a meeting, but it's also used if you are showing a video or doing an activity to get a meeting started or a presentation started. You can say something like, we're going to kick things off with, a video from our president. So you can kick things off or you can kick things off with and then do the activity or video you're showing.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it's really useful.
So do you have a couple other examples of using this in sort of different contexts or even with some different tenses, maybe?
Yeah, so like I said, we can say, so we're ready to kick things off with the first item on our agenda. If you notice, we're ready to kick things off is sort of the simple present tense. And what we're doing today is showing phrases that are fixed expressions, meaning you're always going to see those group of words together, and they mean a certain expression. But you could see them in different ways. For example, Bill will be kicking things off today with the numbers from our last quarter. So again, it's the same expression, but we're sort of using a future progressive tense. So there's a little flexibility with expressions like these, even though they're fixed expressions.
Perfect. Yeah, and so I also want to remind everyone too, like as we're going and giving these different expressions, these different techniques for starting a presentation, we do want this class to be interactive. So if you have any particular questions about anything that we mentioned, or you want to even try using one of these expressions in your own sentences, please put them
Mhm.
in the comments, whether you're
Mhm.
watching on LinkedIn or YouTube or Facebook. We'll be able to see those comments and we can then give you some feedback live
Mhm.
and help you make sure you understand the expression and how to use it naturally.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Feedback is really important. So take advantage. This is a live class, and, feedback really helps.
Perfect. Yeah. And I do want to say hi to a couple other guests who introduced themselves here. Hello, Mohammed, and hello, Sergio. Thank you guys for joining. It's great to have you here. All right. So, Margaret, was there anything else to add on Let's Kick Things Off, or are you feeling pretty good about that one?
Yeah, unless anybody has any questions about this expression, I think that's the most important points I wanted to mention for this one. What's next, Kevin? Do you have an expression you want to
I
share?
do indeed. So, I want you guys to imagine you're starting a presentation with a lot of information that you have to share. And because you have so much information, you're worried that you don't have enough time for everything if you don't start quickly. And so you want to be able to sort of politely ask everyone to pay attention and let them know it's important to be efficient with time. And so I might say something like, thanks so much for joining me today. We've got a lot of ground to cover, so let's get down to business. And so, what am I doing here? Well, I'm using two expressions to sort of address this situation of having a lot to do and making sure we want to start quickly. Those expressions are ground to cover and get down to business. So, if you have a lot of ground to cover, that means that you have a lot of topics to discuss in your presentation. You have a lot of content to share. And so, this is sort of a nice, polite, indirect way of telling people hey, there's a lot to do, please pay attention, right? So, but it sounds a lot more sort of natural and professional than saying, hey, please pay attention, right? So I'm just saying I have a lot of ground to cover, means I have a lot to talk about. Now, combining that with get down to business, well, get down to business means that, hey, it's time to start focusing on the actual work or the main topic or purpose of our meeting instead of just letting people continue to chit chat at the beginning of a call, which usually happens, or especially if we're in person for a meeting, there's a lot of extra talking that can happen. So if you're saying, hey, let's get down to business, that's again a nice natural common way to say, hey, let's stop all the non-work stuff and let's start focusing on the work stuff. What do you think of these expressions? Margaret, have you used these before? Are these pretty common in your vocabulary?
Yeah, absolutely, Kevin. I really like both these expressions. They're really common, really useful. A lot of ground to cover. It's an effective way to give your audience a heads up. There's a lot to talk about today, a lot to get through. So by saying we have a lot of ground to cover, really, I think gets their attention and engagement, like you said, in a professional way. And get down to business, I love. I think this is probably one of the most common ways to start a presentation. And, people are arriving, there's a little bit of small talk, maybe introductions. So just to draw everybody's attention, you can say, okay, let's get down to business. And it's friendly and effective and gets people's attention.
For sure. Yeah. And a couple other ways I might even use it is saying something like, hey, thanks for coming today. Since there's a lot of
Hmm.
ground to cover, right?
Hmm.
Because I have a lot of things to share with you, since
Hmm.
there's a lot of ground to cover,
Hmm.
we'll get down to business in just a few minutes. So this might
Yeah.
be something I would use even like in this type of setting where maybe I join a couple minutes before the start time and I just want to say hello to everyone who's currently here, let them know that we have a lot of stuff to talk about, and let them know that we're going to get down to business or
Hmm.
start working
Hmm.
right away, right?
Yeah, and this example really shows just how much expressions we use in English. You've combined two in one sentence to, explain and express clearly, your message. So, English is full of idioms, full of expressions, and this kind of sentence is a good example of how much we use them.
Yeah, for sure. Another thing I might say is, hey, we've got a lot of ground to cover today. So I've asked my co-host, Margaret here, to start the presentation promptly at the top of the hour. So you can again see how we're using this same expression in different
Mhm.
ways. So I'm saying because I've got a lot of stuff to tell you, I have asked our presenter to start. So this is useful if I'm not the presenter myself, but I'm going to introduce someone who is going to present.
Yeah. Yeah, I would use it also just, very simply. Let's get started on the staff meeting. We have a lot of ground to cover today.
Exactly. Or as our friend Sergio here says, I love get down to business. Even Triple H, the wrestler, uses it at the ring before the ring.
Hey, there you go. Excellent example. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. So you can use it in a lot of situations, whether you're at work giving a presentation or about to wrestle someone.
Exactly. Very useful in many
Yeah.
situations.
All right. Well, now I'm going to hand you guys over to Margaret for our next way to start a presentation. So, Margaret, tell us
Hmm.
about it.
So, this is a really useful expression when maybe you're the host of the presentation, but you're not the main presenter, or there are other presenters. So, you've welcomed everybody, but pretty early on, you have to let the other presenter take the floor and speak. So, a great way to do this is say, okay, let me hand you over to our main speaker, or I'll pass you over now to Susan, who will give us an update on the project. So either of these, let me hand you over or pass you over to, is an effective way to just, introduce the next speaker or the main speaker and continue. Have you used this, Kevin, often?
Yeah, I have. And actually, this is one where there's a little flexibility, I think, in how you sort of construct the expression. So you can definitely say, like, pass you over or
Hmm.
hand you over.
Hmm.
But a lot of times when I say this, I say pass it over or
Hmm.
pass or hand it over to
Hmm.
somebody. Like, hey, I'm going to hand it over to Margaret for the next expression. And so the difference here, I mean, the expressions mean the same thing. It's really just what are you thinking of when you say this? If you're thinking of the audience, like, hey, I want to pass this audience over to the other person, that's when I would say, I want to pass you over to Margaret. But if I'm thinking of just like the presentation itself, or maybe the microphone that I'm sharing or using, or just the topic, that's when I would say, like, I'm going to pass it over to Margaret, or I'm going to hand it over to Margaret to talk about our next topic, right? So would you agree that those are pretty interchangeable? It's just a matter of what you're thinking of as the speaker when you say it.
Absolutely, Kevin. Depending on the context or the situation, maybe one, could work better than the other. But yeah, they're really useful expressions when, somebody else has to speak or, you have to take turns.
Yeah. So give me another couple examples then of how this might look in a real conversation or presentation.
Yeah, so you could say something like, now I will pass you over to my colleague, Jerry, and he will share the numbers. Another way to use this is, I will hand you over to our director who will explain the results of the last quarter.
Perfect. I like it. Yeah, very common, very useful whenever you're not the presenter itself, or maybe you're doing sort of a multi-person presentation, right?
Hmm.
Kind of like we're
Hmm.
doing right now,
Hmm.
and you just want to pass it back
Hmm.
to whoever is going to talk next.
Exactly. Like, for instance, I would like to pass it back to you, Kevin, so you can introduce our next expression.
Perfect. Awesome. All right. So now I want you guys to think, like, have you ever tried to start a presentation when the audience is a little noisy, right? It doesn't really seem like they're very interested in listening to your presentation. Maybe they're talking about their weekend plans, or they're talking about, something they're going to eat tonight for dinner, right? And so if you're in this situation, a great way to start a presentation with like a noisy audience like this is to start with like a simple little joke that can acknowledge the situation, that you're not the most interesting thing to them right now, and assure them that you are going to be respectful of their time. So I might say something like, I know I'm the last thing standing between you and lunch, so if I could get your attention, I'll be sure to keep things brief. So what did I do here? I used two different expressions: last thing standing between and keep things brief. So saying I'm the last thing standing between you and lunch, your vacation, your flights, whatever, it's just a simple little joke that lets that audience know, hey, I know that you would rather be somewhere else instead of listening to my presentation right now. And by acknowledging that, they sort of chuckle a little bit, they laugh a little bit, they see that, okay, this person is paying attention to me. And now when I combine that with, I'll be sure to keep things brief, that's a great way to build rapport, which is just a fancy word for like a good relationship with that audience. I'm letting them know, hey, I know I'm not your number one priority right now. And because of that, I will try to make sure we're efficient. I'm not going to waste your time. I'm going to keep things brief. What do you think about those, Margaret?
Yeah, the last thing standing between is really great. Like you said, if people are, not very enthusiastic about being at the meeting, they have other things to do, or they simply want to go home, it sort of cuts the tension because, like you said, it's humorous. So, once you say that, I'm the last thing standing between you and going home or going for lunch, it, right away calms people and okay, we can do this. So, that's a really good one.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I also love, I'll keep things brief.
Mm.
If you even use this at the beginning of a presentation, the first thing that you say, you're sort of showing people you respect their time. You respect that everybody's busy and you're making an effort to keep things brief so that they can, go on to their other activities. So I find it's showing empathy for others. Like your intention is to keep things brief.
Exactly. We do have a couple extra comments here. So Luce says, thanks for sharing. You're welcome.
Thanks, Luz.
Share those. Got another great here. Thank you so much for that.
Awesome.
And a hello from Afghanistan.
Hello.
Hello.
Awesome. Thanks for being here.
Definitely. By the way, as you can see, we do see all of your comments. So please feel free to add some questions if something's not clear, or if you want to try using some of these expressions like keep things brief, or I'm the last thing standing between you and whatever. This is a great opportunity for you to try using it, put it in a comment, and then Margit and I will be able to look at those live and give you feedback. So don't be shy. We're here to help you. Okay.
Excellent.
So let's see. I think there's a couple other ways that I might say something like this. I might say things like, make sure I got my stuff here. I know I'm the last thing between you and your vacation, so I'll be sure not to waste your time. So as you can see, there's a little flexibility here. I don't always have to say the last thing standing between. I could just say I'm the last thing between you and your vacation. Or I could say things like, I know I'm the last thing standing between you and your flights. If everybody's about to leave for a big business meeting or something, and I'll keep things brief, which again is sort of a shortened version of I'll be sure to keep things brief. I'll keep things brief.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can use it, in general in business. For example, you have tasks to do, maybe reports to do, and you can say, this report is the last thing standing between me and going home. So when you have that one more thing to do before you can move on, it's the last thing standing between.
Perfect. All right. Well, what's the next expression we got here, Margit?
Let's see. Hold on, Kevin. Bear with me while I find the example. So I really love this expression because you're asking for people to be patient. Sometimes things don't go smoothly. Things can't get started right away, and there's a little wait time. So one way to ask people to be patient and, keep their attention is saying, please bear with me while I give this quick presentation, and then we can get back to work. Or please bear with me while I get the slides on, and, the presentation will begin. So bear with me, please wait patiently, and we'll get started.
Yeah, and this is,
what do you think?
This is such a great one, and I'm really glad you included it, because when you're giving a presentation in general, it's already very stressful, right? And then when something goes wrong during your presentation, it makes it even more stressful.
Yeah.
And so instead of like
Panicking.
stumbling for words and panicking, be like, oh, sorry, please wait. Like you can just say, bear with me. It sounds very natural, and it sounds like you're in control of the situation, right? You're not really freaking out. You're not scared because something went wrong. You just acknowledged, hey, something went wrong, so please bear with me while I solve it. Just like Margit did a second ago, where I think she lost her place in her notes for a second, and all she said was, oh, bear with me while I find my notes.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect example of using that.
Exactly. Another couple of examples I can think of. Please bear with me while I fix the image on my screen. Most of us these days have virtual meetings, so the audio could fail, or the video can fail, and you have to take a moment to fix it. So please bear with me, or bear with me while I find the information, and we'll get started right away.
Yeah, for sure. Again, this is something that you can feel free to use anytime you're in
Yeah.
any sort of presentation,
Yeah.
call, meeting, whatever, when you just need a little extra time to solve a problem or to maybe find your notes or something that you're going to use. So super natural, super professional, super polite, and makes you sound like you're in control of the situation.
Yeah, exactly. It puts the control back in your hands, and everybody understands, and they know just to wait patiently.
Perfect. All right, got a couple extra comments here. So everything is clear.
Oh,
Thank you,
great.
Jessica. Glad to hear that. And Leonardo says, excellent tips.
Thanks, Leonardo. That's great.
Yes, thank you. All right. So I guess it's time for another expression here, huh?
Yeah. What you got next, Kevin?
What do I got next? Well, in my last little tip, we talked about noisy audiences and people that aren't really paying attention to you. And so this time I'm going to talk about the opposite. So sometimes your audience might be very, very quiet, especially if you have a meeting very early in the morning and people aren't really quite awake yet. And so again, as the speaker, this might feel a little awkward or make you feel like people aren't really interested in what you have to say. But it's actually just a good opportunity to get started quickly and to get rid of some of your nerves, right? And so saying something like, hey, I take it from your silence that I can get the ball rolling is a great thing to say in this situation. The two key expressions here are take it from and get the ball rolling. So when I say I take it from your silence, what I'm saying is I assume that based on your behavior, your silence, that I can now do something. I can go start that presentation. So I could say, like, I take it from your car collection that you're into cars, right? Like, say, I really assume that based on this behavior, the fact that you're collecting cars or have a lot of cars in your garage means that you like something, or I take it from your silence that I can start my presentation. Now, if we don't want to always just say start a presentation, start, a way to sort of mix it up is to say get the ball rolling. Get the ball rolling is a very casual term that still fits great in the professional world that you can use to basically mean the same thing as start. It's good for starting meetings, it's good for starting calls or presentations. And so, Margaret, I'm curious, do you ever use these two expressions in your meetings or presentations?
Yeah, I do. I really like I take it from because it's sort of a softer way to say, um, I guess you don't understand, or I assume it's not clear for you. So you can say, oh, I take it from your look that maybe it's not clear or you still have doubts. I think it's a really good expression to use to, check in with the person,
Yeah,
right? In a softer way. And let's get the ball rolling. It's a great one.
yeah, for sure.
It's one that's really common. People like to use it at the beginning of presentations or of meetings. It sort of breaks the ice, wakes everybody up, and let's get things started. Let's get the ball rolling.
Yeah, and I think it's particularly helpful too if you have a meeting or a presentation where you don't have a lot of time. So I could say something like, "Hey, I've only got 5 minutes to speak with you, so let's get the ball rolling." So
Yeah,
I want to
yeah,
start right now. Sort
yeah,
of creates a little bit more of a sense of urgency. Like, "Hey, there's not a lot of time. Let's do this. Let's
yeah.
start. Let's get the ball rolling."
Yeah, exactly. Or you can use it, get the ball rolling by, for example, okay, let's get the ball rolling by looking at the agenda. Like when you're explaining a way to start a presentation or a meeting, we'll
Mhm.
get the ball rolling by doing this. And then it gets things started.
Perfect. Yeah, and another way that I could use the take it from expression is something like this. I could say, I take it from your questions that this is an important topic for you. Let's schedule another call to talk more about it. So again, I'm saying, I notice that there are a lot of questions. And
Hmm.
so I assume that
Hmm.
because you have all these questions,
Hmm.
we should talk about this some more. So
Hmm.
let's schedule another call. I
hmm
take it from your questions that this is an important topic for you.
Or I take it from your silence.
That
Yeah,
we
like you
don't need
said.
that
Yeah.
end the presentation. Yeah, that's a really good one. When you're towards the end of a presentation, we might even use it today at the end of our class.
Hmm.
We might say, hey, does anyone have any questions? And then if nobody says anything, we might say, okay, well, I take it from the fact that there's no questions that we can end the
Hmm.
presentation.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Excellent.
Perfect. All right. Well, what would you like to draw our attention to next, Margaret?
Well, actually, Kevin, so, sometimes at the beginning of your presentation, you need the audience to focus on something right away. So just soon after beginning, you can say something like, I would like to draw your attention to the first slide. So it's when you want people to focus on a specific point, you're highlighting something important. So you can say, draw your attention to. Have you
Right.
heard this one before? Do you use
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, definitely. This is one where it's very useful when you do have some sort of visual aid in your
Mm-hmm.
presentation. So, like you said
Mm-hmm.
in your first example, like a slide,
Mm-hmm.
it could be like a table, it could be a chart. It could also be, I guess, if you're like in a call, you could say, I want to draw your attention to this other person, right, who's about to tell us about something. But yeah, anytime you want somebody to like actually look really in a certain direction, I guess, or pay
Mm-hmm.
attention to an object, that's where I would use this a lot. So, like in my old job when I was working as a sales engineer, a lot of what we had to do was sort of demonstrate our products to different potential clients, right? Executives or different people on the technical teams. And so, as we're presenting, we often would ask people, "Hey, I want to draw your attention to this part of the software, or I'd like to draw your attention to this other part," right? So it's a
Mm-hmm.
good way to just say, hey, look over here, but in a more professional way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have an example for that. If you say something like, I would like to draw your attention to the next point.
Mhm.
So, you're shifting their attention to something important that's coming up, um, just like you're saying. And also, in terms of using charts in presentations, let me draw your attention to figure A on the chart. This is very useful for visual aids and images and charts. You really want to focus on something specific.
Perfect. I like it.
Awesome. What's next?
All right. So for my next one, just a sort of general comment here. I always think that the best presenters really make sure that their content is relevant to their audience. And they treat their presentations more like a conversation with their audience instead of just like talking at them for
Hmm.
for hours, right? And
Hmm.
so a great way that you can start a presentation but make it more interactive
Hmm.
is by asking the audience, what are they hoping to learn? And so, a
Hmm.
great way to say this is something like, hey, before we begin, what's one thing you hope to get out of this presentation? So, the key expression here is get out of. And so, if you get something out of something else, that means that you receive a benefit. So, you receive maybe more knowledge, maybe a greater understanding, right? So, I'm hoping to get some more vocabulary out of this class with Kevin and Margit, would be a good
Hmm.
example. I hope the
Hmm.
benefit that I receive is something like vocabulary.
Hmm.
Margaret, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, this is a really good one. At the beginning of the presentation, what do you hope to get out of this? So it, asks the audience to think of their objectives. Why are they there? Why are they participating in this? Why is it important for them to, listen to this presentation? And also at the end, what did you get from this presentation, or what did you get out of it? So, an example of how we can use different verb tenses with this fixed expression, You can use it at the beginning, and you can even use it at the end. Okay, let's recap. What did you get from this? What did you get out of this?
Yeah, for sure. And I have a couple examples like that. So I could say, I didn't get anything out of that speech.
Mm-hmm.
You already knew
Mm-hmm.
everything, right? So I did
Mm-hmm.
not receive a benefit.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of a bad presentation, right? I didn't get
Mm-hmm.
anything out of it. Or I could say, I got a lot out of your presentation. I
Mm-hmm.
never knew there were so many ways to use your product, right? So this is saying
Yeah.
that I did receive a lot of benefits. I
Yeah.
really liked your presentation. It was
Mm-hmm.
very helpful. I got
Yeah.
a lot out of it.
Exactly. Or I got a lot out of today's presentation on team building. So everything that, had been said on team building, participants feel, oh, I really got a lot out of that.
Yeah, for sure. And by the way, for everyone who is watching, write in the comments, what have you gotten out of this class so far? So in the comments, let us know, what did you get out of this class so far? We'd really like to hear and make sure that we are being relevant for you as an audience
Mm-hmm.
as well. So let us know, did you get something out of this so far? Did you not get something out of it? And if you did get something out of it, well, what was it? So put those in the comments, and we'll share them on the screen here in a few minutes. All right. So Margit, I think you're going to get us up to speed on the next presentation or the next topic, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, like you said, up to speed. The main objective of this presentation today is to get everybody up to speed on the project. Sometimes the purpose of presentations is to update, colleagues, participants. You could be working on a long project, and there are a few phases of the project. It takes a few months. So there could be presentations in the meanwhile, just to get everybody up to speed, make sure everybody's on the same page, they have the updated information. So you would start your presentation to let people know, today the point of this presentation is to get everyone up to speed on the project.
Right.
What do you think, Kevin?
Yeah, this is one that I think fits in a lot of situations, not only in presentations, but also just sort of in your general job. So like, for example, if your boss asks you like, hey, what's the latest information on this project? You could respond and say, honestly, I'm not really up to speed on it yet. There hasn't been a meeting on it in 2 months, right? Or, hey, could I sit in or could I join this meeting so I could get up to speed on something? So you can definitely use it at the beginning of a presentation, as Margit said, to sort of let people know that the purpose of this meeting is to give them the latest information. You can also use it in sort of your general work life. And I would also, I guess mostly work life, talk about different things that you either need to get up to speed on or that you're not up to speed on.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, just to get everybody on the same page, make sure everybody has all the information. This is a great expression to use to bring everyone up to speed.
Right. So what are a couple other ways we could use that?
You could bring everybody up to speed on, different business matters, acquisitions, negotiations. How else would you use that, Kevin, in a sentence?
It could also just be specific developments, which are just really updates on a project, right? So you could say like, I would like to begin today by bringing everyone up to speed with the latest developments on the project. And so I guess one quick question for you, Margit. We see here in this example, we say, bring everyone up to speed with the latest developments. And in the previous one, you said, bring everyone up to speed on the acquisition. Is there any is there a right or a wrong way in terms of the preposition you're going to use this with here, or is it more of a flexible?
Yeah, I think it's one of those, flexible ways that we can express this idiom. Both are correct. I think it's more common to say, bring everybody up to speed with. but they could be used interchangeably.
Okay.
So yeah, sometimes we have to keep in mind, there's a right preposition for certain expressions,
Right.
and sometimes there's a bit more flexibility, but depending on the context. Yeah, but good point, because those prepositions,
They're tricky.
yes.
Awesome. All right. Well, I think I've got one more expression then for everyone. And
Excellent.
so in this case, sometimes you're just presenting to like a small group of colleagues, right? It's not a big presentation. It's not a big audience of strangers or people you don't know. And so you want a way to start that presentation without sounding super formal or distant. And so a great way to do that is to just say something like, all right, ready to dive in? Let's get started. So dive in is the expression here. And so dive in actually has a couple ways we can use it. So we can either say dive in or dive into. And so if you dive into a presentation, it means you're going to start or begin it. It's very casual, it's used a lot. And sort of the difference between just saying dive in or dive into is that if you are going to tell us the specific thing that you're about to start, that's when you use dive into. Like, I'm going to dive into this presentation. I'm going to dive into the speech. I'm going to dive into this topic. But if you just want to say start without telling us that specific thing, and maybe it's already sort of assumed or understood based on the context, that's when you would just say something like, all right, let's dive in. Right? So it's not just, all right, let's dive into. All right, let's dive in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you're going to tell us the thing, you say into. If you're not, you just say dive in.
Yeah.
What do you think?
This is a good example of when you have to use the right preposition.
Yes,
So,
this is a very
right?
important one.
So we cannot say, let's dive in the meeting. Let's dive
Yes.
into the meeting.
Exactly.
Excellent. And I like this one also because I think it shows a lot of enthusiasm at the beginning of a meeting. Okay, guys, let's dive in. Let's get things started. For example, I know you're all excited about the new changes, so let's dive right in.
Exactly.
It gets people going.
Yeah, and I'd actually like to dive into a quick comment that came in as well.
Mm-hmm.
Nicole says, to our question about getting something out of this presentation, that how idioms can be used flexibly depending on the audience is something that she got out of it. So you're absolutely right, Nicole. There is a lot of flexibility with how we can use these and which audiences and situations they fit in. So I'm glad that you got that out of this presentation.
Yeah, awesome. Excellent. Very true.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's take a look. Now, there's a couple other ways that I would maybe say this. So I could say like, hey, before we dive into the next section, are there any questions, right? So I can use it at the beginning, but I could also use it to just introduce different parts of a conversation as well before we dive into the next section. Or I think we're all ready to dive into your presentation. Go ahead. This is, again, useful if I am the person who is going to introduce somebody else, right? Or maybe I just finished my presentation and now it's my job to pass you over to the next speaker. I could say, hey, I think we're all ready to dive into your presentation. Margit, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So at the beginning of a presentation, when you're transitioning, it's a great way to get everybody's attention and, keep their engagement and their enthusiasm throughout the presentation. And okay, let's dive into, the next item on the agenda.
Perfect. All right. So before we do a quick review then of everything that we learned today, I do have a couple, comments that I want to leave for everyone. So first, if you didn't notice up at the top of the screen there, we do have a free PDF worksheet that you can get that has all of the expressions that we talked about today. It has definitions, it has examples, and some challenges at the end that you can do to practice using these. And so again, you can go and grab that for free at deliberate.community/present, which I will post again in the comments right here. And in addition to that, Margit, if people want to get more information from you or work with you a little further on their business and corporate English, where can they find that at?
Yeah, so on LinkedIn, I post, weekly tips. Um, you can send me a direct DM if you want to have a chat, book a call, discuss more, your current situation, your needs to improve your English communication skills. Follow me on LinkedIn or send me a direct message anytime.
Perfect. And from my side, if you want more sort of immersion in business English, you need more people to practice with, you want to practice more with native speakers, you want to be able to get feedback on your English, well, then I encourage you to schedule a free call with me at deliberate.community/call. And we can learn more about your goals, your challenges, what you want to achieve in your career, and basically help you see how this immersion community can give you the tools you need and give you the environment you need, just like when you were a little kid and learning your native language, getting that constant feedback from different sources, but from a business and adult perspective can be very, very helpful. And so again, you can schedule a free call with me at deliberate.community/call. And so all those links that I just mentioned, whether it's the free PDF, speaking to Margaret about some one-on-one training and group coaching, as well as the Business English Immersion community, are now in the comments in this video. All right, so to wrap things up, let's do a quick review and summary of everything that we talked about. So Margaret, I'm just gonna ask you to list the expression that you taught, the definition, and then I will do the same on my side. So let's start with number one. What was it?
So the first one I had was let's kick things off. And this means let's get started. Let's start the event or start an activity. And as an example, so if we're ready to kick things off with our first item on our agenda.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. And for number two, we had ground to cover and get down to business. So if you have a lot of ground to cover, that means you have a lot of topics to discuss. And if you get down to business, it means you start to focus on the work or the important parts of the meeting instead of spending time just chit-chatting. What was the third one?
Excellent. The third one was to hand or pass you over to somebody. So that was when you want to indicate that someone else will speak, or you have multiple speakers or presenters. You can say, I'll hand you over to Bill. Or, for example, now I will hand you over to my colleague, Jerry.
Perfect. So the fourth group was last thing standing between and keep things brief. So if you say, I'm the last thing standing between you and something, that's that simple joke you can make to let the audience know you're aware there's more interesting things they would rather do. And it sort of helps you build rapport with them when you add, I'll be sure to keep things brief, because you're saying, hey, I know you want to do something else, but I will do whatever I can to make sure the topic is relevant for you and I don't waste your time. What was number five?
Number five was please bear with me. So this means you're asking somebody to be patient and wait while you have to do something. For example, please bear with me while I fix the image on my screen. So a nice way to ask, be patient. I have to do something quickly.
Perfect. Number six was take it from and get the ball rolling. So take it from something means that you can assume that you can do something based on the behavior of somebody else. So I take it from your silence that I can get the ball rolling. So you seem quiet. I guess that means you're ready. So let's start. Get the ball rolling. Again, it's just sort of a fancy, natural way to say start at the beginning of a meeting, a call, or a presentation. Number seven.
Yeah, draw your attention to. So this was when you need somebody to focus on something specific. you draw their attention to it. For example, I would like to draw your attention to the next point.
Perfect. All right. Number 8 was get out of. So get something out of something else. And so if you get something out of something, that means that you receive a benefit, like more knowledge or a greater understanding. So you could ask your audience at the beginning of a presentation, what do you hope to get out of this presentation, to learn what their goals are for it and why they're here? Or again, you guys right now, I would love to hear in the comments, what did you get out of this lesson today? So what is a benefit that you received, something new that you learned? So let us know in the comments here. So what did you get out of the presentation? Margit, what's number 9?
Yeah, my final one was to get up to speed. So this means, to get updated and to have all the latest information on a subject or activity. For example, I would like to begin today by bringing everyone up to speed with the latest developments on the project.
Perfect. And our final expression today was dive in or dive into. And so this is used to say, hey, we're going to start this presentation. We're going to begin. It's casual but professional. And as Margit had mentioned earlier, it's sort of a good way to show enthusiasm or to acknowledge the enthusiasm of the audience. And so again, there are 2 ways to use this. If I'm not going to tell you the specific thing that I'm starting, I would just say, hey, let's dive in. And so again, it's sort of understood on the context of what I'm going to start. Or if you want to tell us the exact thing that you're going to start, that's when we would say dive into. Like, before we dive into the next section, are there any questions?
Excellent. Okay. Excellent. We've gone through a lot of expressions, Kevin.
We have. It's been a busy day. We had a lot of ground to cover, didn't we?
Exactly. But I think we've brought everybody up to speed now on some common idioms to use in presentations.
Yes. Well, and I'd like to thank them for bearing with us as we walked through everything.
Exactly. And yeah, just going back to what Nicole commented before, there are so many expressions and idioms in the English language, and they're very versatile, depending on your context, your audience. There's so many that you can choose from and use, and there's so much flexibility with that. Yeah, so it's very important to, get to know more idioms, get comfortable using them.
Yep. Let's see. So while we have like 4 or 5 extra minutes here, since we are done with our main content, we have covered all of our ground. Please feel free in the comments to list some questions, or if you have any questions about either the content that we talked about, something that's not clear, or you want to practice using one of those, try to create your own sentences in the comments. If you have more questions about Margit or I and what we do as far as helping English learners improve their English, feel free to put those in the comments.
I see an interesting question here, Kevin, in the comments.
Yeah. So let's see. Mahat asks us, it's very interesting. I would like to know if you are presenting this kind of live daily or weekly. Well, that is a very good question, isn't it, Margit?
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think, Kevin?
Well, I'm certainly trying to incorporate more live, sort of interactive presentations and classes like this as part of my strategy. So while I can't really say that it's going to be always daily or weekly at this point, I do plan on doing more of them. And so if you're interested, just be sure to make sure you're following us or following me on LinkedIn or YouTube or Facebook, where I'll post announcements about this. Margit, what about you? How do you plan to incorporate live teaching in your marketing?
Yeah, so I think that's really interesting. I think it's very beneficial to have live classes like this, so people can join and learn and hopefully get a lot out of live sessions like this. So yeah, I definitely plan to do it like you. I don't know if it's going to be daily or weekly, but definitely follow us and keep in touch with us to know when the next one would be coming up. Absolutely.
Perfect. All right. Any other questions, comments, requests, concerns from anyone? We'll give you an extra 30 seconds or so to put them in the comments. And if not, we'll take it from your silence that it is time to end the presentation. So
Yeah.
again,
And this is recorded, right, Kevin?
absolutely. So yes, that's a good point. This is recorded, so we will post the replay on our various social media channels, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, so you'll be able to watch this again. And hello to anyone who's watching this in the replay.
Hello.
Yes, hello. All right, any other final questions for today? Going once. Going twice. All right, well, I take it from your silence that we are ready to wrap things up.
The good thing is, people can send us messages later if they think of questions that come up after or after they've watched the replay. There's no time limit. You can keep asking, and that's not a problem. Yeah.
We are here to help.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, again, thank you for joining today. It was great having you guys here. Thank you, Octavio, for joining. We are certainly happy to have provided you some information today. Marta, yes, thank you so much.
Thank you, Marta.
It's great to have you guys, and enjoy your weekend. All right. We'll catch you in the next live class.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.